Hi boys and girls. Today we're going to read a little story called Winter Sleep, and it's a story about hibernation, and it's by Sean Taylor and Alex Morris, and it's illustrated by Xin Yi Chu. And I thought this would be a lovely story for you because it really shows well how the seasons change. And right now it feels like it's the middle of winter, and there are very few animals and very few things growing on the trees and plants. So I just thought it would be nice for us to have a look at this story. Winter Sleep. When it was summer, I stayed at Granny Sylvie's house. She knows lots of things, like the names of flowers and how to spot a deer's hoofprint. And where to splash around the pond. So there's lots of creatures around the pond. A heron and a frog and dragonflies and little fish and a coot. Climb a slope of green ferns. Pass through the oak trees with moss on one side and find the secret glade. Butterflies fluttered even though it was late. Granny Sylvie helped me listen for songs of different birds. It was still warm, and we stayed right into the summer magic of the night. And we kept so still that we saw the dormouse, who lives there, run up a hazel tree. So now, when I went back to stay with Granny, it was winter. I asked her, "Can we go to the secret glade?" She said, "Yes, if you can find it." Everything was different. The pond was frozen hard. The ferns on the slope looked dead. The oak trees with moss on one side were all bony. And the glade was quiet and bare. It wasn't anything the same. No butterflies, no flowers, no birds. I wanted to see the dormouse, but Granny said, "The dormouse will be having a winter sleep." It was too cold to stay. And I said, "Nothing's alive in winter." Granny Sylvie told me it is. We can't see the dormouse, but she's hiding here. She'll be safely, deeply sleeping all winter long. This is her hibernation time. In autumn she feasted on forest nuts and fruits and insects. Then the long nights came. She felt cold and heavy and sleepy. There was nothing more to eat. So she made a nest ball, and she's inside, secretly snoring until the spring sun warms her body again. On the way back, I asked, "Are there other animals hiding in the trees?" Granny said yes. Lots of bats hibernate in trees. On warm nights they fly across the forest, chasing insects and pulling spiders from webs. But even their food rests in winter. So bats snuggle up in a hollow trunk or cave, and they snooze through the frosty weather. I said, "Where do all the insects go?" Granny told me some are sleeping right under your feet. The ground is frozen hard, but down below there are stag beetles waiting to come out. And the queen bumblebee sleeps in a tiny tunnel. Some moths and butterflies hide underground, often wrapped up, waiting for spring. Mother earwigs look after their eggs until they hatch when spring comes. We were coming to the pond, so I asked, "What about in water?" Granny said there's ice on top, but pond life waits below. Before it froze, frogs dived down deep, into the slimy mud. Now they're still, and they're breathing so slowly they seem dead. But when the water warms in the spring, we'll hear them croaking again." I said, "So all sorts of animals are having a winter sleep?" "That's right," Granny Sylvie told me. "Some even make a special home for winter. A bear builds a den deep in the woods, perhaps in a cave, an old tree trunk, or hidden hollow. Mommy Bear slows right down and rests there with her cubs, curled up tight on a bed she's made from soft moss, twigs, and leaves. Now, we don't have any bears in Ireland, but this is what bears do in America and Canada." Granny Sylvie was still telling me about the animals in winter when I was in bed. "You see," she told me, "there's plenty of life tucked up, hiding in the cold." I nodded. I could feel the cozy magic of the dark night outside, and even though it wasn't very late, I closed my eyes for a winter sleep. So here's a little bit about hibernation. Can you imagine going to bed in winter and not getting up until spring? When a snowy blanket arrives, much of the world seems sleepy. The sun feels lazy, the nights are long, trees look undressed, ponds freeze over, fewer birds sing, even the flowers are having a rest. With plants shutting down for the colder, darker winter months, there are few flowers, fruits, nuts and leaves for animals to feed on. There are also fewer insects to eat. It's difficult for many creatures to find food and keep warm. Instead, they snuggle up somewhere secret, sheltered, and safe. Hibernation is a special kind of deep sleep. It helps animals to live through the coldest and hungriest times. By saving them energy, they find or make a place to hide out of danger from hungry predators. Mammals, reptiles, amphibians, birds, and mini beasts have different kinds of winter sleep. So I hope you enjoyed that story. I certainly did. Remember, if you can at all, to put out some food for the birds, because there certainly isn't too much around for them. And as we learned last week about the robin, lots of birds aren't hibernating at the moment. So if you can, put out some food for the birds to keep them going until springtime. I hope you enjoyed the story. Bye-bye.